Cultural Aspects of Learning by Emily Wierdsma, University of New England, EDU 747. Understanding and supporting Russian students in the classroom. The motivation behind this research was due to a past experience of working with a Russian family who came to the United States. This family had two daughters, one in 6th grade and one in 8th grade. I was fortunate enough to work with the 6th grade daughter. She was a lovely girl and needed a little help and encouragement in the classroom, but soon found her way. This research project will show the in-depth research that needs to happen before the child enters the classroom, as well as activities that you can do in the classroom to help welcome the student and make them feel welcomed in the classroom. One of the first things we need to do is think about the Russian experience in immigration, as also the stereotypes that often Russian immigrants face. The Russian American population is approximately 2.9 million people. Russia has had a history of overpopulation, famines, war, and political unrest. Due to this, many Russians immigrate to the United States because of better weather, more jobs, and educational opportunities, and to have an easier lifestyle. There are many stereotypes that are often associated with the Russian people. The American media tends to depict Russians as being angry or distant or cold and tough due to their hardships. They are also honest and direct, which can sometimes come across as rude. But they are just blunt and respect straightforwardness and genuineness. These stereotypes can hinder a student's when they come into the classroom. It is important to break down these stereotypes and to show students that a student from Russia is no different than they are, that they have a lot to offer to the class, and that we should not think about the stereotypes that we often think about or have been taught from the American media. It is important to think about where students come from and what they bring to our class composition. Some of the values that Russian people have are their work and educational values. They're very community oriented. They value their families and taking care of their aging relatives. And they actually prefer deeper conversations rather than surface level. Again, these types of understandings help us to learn and to teach Russian students as they enter our classroom. For example, knowing that Russians do not particularly enjoy surface conversations and rather a deeper conversation, we need to take the time to get to know our students to develop those relationships so they feel comfortable in our classroom. Understanding that they like a community or that Russians value community is important to know as we build a classroom relationship. All of these things will help in understanding these values will help us connect to our students from Russia. There are many language differences between the Russian language and the English language, which can cause many challenges for Russian ELL students. The Russian language has a different grammar system than English and can be very challenging for Russian ELL students. Pronunciation and intonation can be very difficult since the English language has 12 vowel sounds as opposed to the Russian 5 vowel sounds. Differences in grammar will be challenging for ELL students. For example, Russian language has no articles. So in terms of thinking about a student and what we're asking them to do, what language they might deliver to us may sound different than what we're expecting because they're not used to things like that we have in our language. Russian language is also mostly phonetic, which can be frustrating for beginning ELL students, as this is not the case in the English language. We have many different words that are spelled not the same way that we cannot find their meaning by the way that they sound. It's important to understand these differences so we can, again, help our students acclimate to this language and understand that this difference in language will make this very challenging for them. There's also differences in our educational systems. In the American education system, we tend to focus on creative problem solving. asking our students why and how did you come up with those questions. Russian education tends to be focused on more memorizations and rote working. So it's important to think about what we're asking our students. Higher level critical skills are going to be difficult for Russian students as they have not often been taught that in the past. In terms of the organization of schools, this is also a difference. In the American school system, we have three levels of school: elementary, middle or high school, and high school. In Russia, there are also 3 different types of schools. However, these schools are entered at a young age, and they are specialized. There's a specialized school for math and sciences, a specialized school for language and humanities, and a specialized school a school that teaches just general basic classes. It's important to understand which school your student came from. If they came from a school that specializes in math and science, you know that this is something that is important to them. This is a value of theirs, and it's important to think about how we can highlight that for them. Also, in the American school systems, students are constantly monitored by teachers. They're told what to do, they're given directions, and the teacher monitors them and expects them to do the work. In Russian classrooms, students can be highly self-directed. Students can be left alone and with work there for them to complete on their own. Sometimes for Russian students, having too many directions is confusing. Understanding these differences really helps us understand how we can help our students and what we might need to do to encourage them in the classroom. In terms of participating in the classroom, Russian students are very much less likely to participate. This is due to 2 things. First, Russians tend to be more reserved people in general. Second, Russian schools do not focus on speaking or pronunciation. Therefore, speaking and collaborative learning activities will be extremely important when instructing Russian ELL students. It is also important to think about wait time and letting students wait time for your students so they can answer, as well as prompting students to let them know that they will be called upon shortly so that they can start formulating their answer. All of these things will help increase your participation in the classroom. Literature circles. One way that you can involve your Russian students in the classroom activities is literature circles. What are literature circles? They are small groups of students gathered together to discuss a piece of literature in depth. Students are grouped by their choice of book. Discussions are guided by students and student-driven. Students learn to interact with other students in a non-threatening and is also community-focused. This encourages active participation, and especially for ELL students, literature circles provide an opportunity for real and authentic practice of language skills. Because, as we know, that sometimes our Russian students might be less likely to participate in class, a literature circle, which is just a small group, might be a really great way for them to start weaving their way into class and participating better. This is a great use of bringing a community together as well, which we know is something that is important to the Russian people. By having a choice in what the students are interested in, so if a student gets to choose their book or choose from a list of books, then they also are choosing something that they're interested in learning, which will help them as well. Literature circles are a great way to build community and to foster speaking and participating in the classroom. This is a great strategy to use when working with ELL students. Performance-based assessments. What are performance-based assessments? These measure students' abilities to apply skills and knowledge through learned in a unit of study. It gives the teacher a variety of sources from which to obtain information about ELL students. It provides teachers with a complete picture of what these students know, how they interpret the material, and what they are capable of doing. They support the language development needs of ELL students and allow for flexibility in meeting with individual needs. It uses authentic tasks that offer a variety of ways to show that ELL students can show that they are mastering content. When we think about traditional tests, they might not be a way to clearly understand your EL student and what they are capable of. By using your performance-based assessments throughout the time that you have with your student, you will have a better idea of what they really understand and how they are understanding what you are teaching them. This can be a great way to understand our students. It can be a great way to develop our individual needs to understand our individual needs of our students and to really understand what our student is knowing and how they are growing in the classroom. And lastly, welcoming activities. Welcoming activities are activities which involve sharing family and individual information. It can be accessed on a variety of grade levels. It can accommodate different writing abilities, and it's relevant to all students in the classroom. Therefore, ELL students are not singled out. This is a chance for ELL students to share their knowledge and experience with the class. These activities also enhance class discussion about culture and heritage. In thinking about our ELL students, all of these activities are really important. But when we think about what a teacher must do, they really need to do all of these things. You need to understand the research and the background of your students. We need to think about what activities are going to work best for them and where they've come from, and how to create an environment where they would like to participate and like to become a part of the classroom community. By doing all these things, teachers will allow an environment where students feel comfortable and safe and want to be a part of the community. Thank you very much for listening.